you're joining us from. My name is Randy Miskovic. I'm Managing Director of the Resource Management Institute, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our Power Up today on resource management for the remote workforce. Obviously, hopefully you'd all agree, a very germane topic to the environment we've lived all together through the last couple of years. I want to take a moment and I'll welcome our special guests, Mike Lane and Jodi Ward, here in just a few minutes, and we're going to spend some time as a panel getting some ideas and experiences from them on how they're handling the remote workforce in their respective companies. I want to do a special shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's broadcast, MavenLink, Projector, and Savion. There's companies like these who are dedicated to helping companies like yours get better at resource management, and they certainly all these companies have been very supportive of our efforts at the Institute. We appreciate their support of this broadcast. So I'm going to dive in with a couple of things. For those of you not familiar with the RMI, if this is your first time joining us, we are simply dedicated to the advancement of resource and workforce management. And we do that by bringing best practice definition and development to our membership. We've got a large library of market research and white papers very specific to resource and workforce management available through the website, a full range of training and education for people in this discipline. And lastly, we run a number of collaboration and events to bring the community together of resource managers. And this Power Up we're running is the first of 4 that we'll run this year. So with that, I want to dive right into our topic, resource management for the remote workforce. And the session abstract we sent out basically said that talked about how the pandemic forced us to this remote model, and we're all grappling with the strategic significance of what going remote meant. And it was interesting when it first happened. I think we were all talking to each other on the phones or through video technology like this, and hearing how we were grappling with the problem as individual companies. And even though it's been 2 years, we're still nascent in how we're learning about how to deal with this. And it has a lot of different ways it's affecting our business, our people, and things. And so, but best practices have certainly started to emerge around how companies have balanced things like employee wants and needs with the cost of running the business, productivity impacts of going remote, both positive and negative. And so a lot of things going on out there. So we thought this would be a really germane topic for our membership. Now, I'm not going to read all these quotes. I put them up simply to point out, and by the way, you'll be able to get a copy of this deck as well as recording the deck on the website later on, so you can go back and read these. But I'll just say the industry is far from settled on what this all means. I've just seen disparate opinions on, and this has made us more productive, it's made us less productive, it's made our employees happier, it's made our employees less happy, it's made our employees more fearful for their careers, it's made our employees happier about their careers, right? All kinds of different opinions. And so we're not here to stake out a point of view or opinion on that, other than I think it's very clear to say it changed our world in a lot of different ways. And but as people responsible for resource management, it clearly has thrown some new challenges at us. And so I wanted to, before I get into the panel discussion with Mike and Jodi, I wanted to offer just some brief perspectives to all of you about this. Clearly the pandemic was a disruptor to the work at home paradigm that we were all used to for a long time. And even to be fair, our company has always been partially remote to begin with, and so for us it wasn't a big change, but for some companies it was an enormous shift of how things got done. And by the way, not all employees want to work remotely, but some certainly do, so that's been an interesting learning thing. Today's environment, by the way, does provide us an opportunity to experiment, and I think we're going to hear a little bit of that from Jodi and Mike today as well. But and there's certainly pros and cons about remote work, and that it does differ at times between employee and between employer and employee. I just realized I got one typo there, so sorry about that. But many companies were not prepared technologically. I'm familiar with several companies that said, "Wow, we didn't have the networking capability to have all of a sudden all of our employees go remote. And we had some situations we saw like that, and so interesting things like that. A geographic disruption has clearly begun. You can read, most of the newspapers, magazines have covered the topic of now that people realize, hey, I don't have to go to work, and I happen to be in a high-cost city. Maybe this is the time to pack up and move to a lower-cost city because I can still do the same work and do it someplace else. So we're seeing a certain amount of geographic disruption as a result of this. And then, but clearly there's a trend to more remote workers, and it certainly tests our processes for resource and workforce management. So, and the last thing I want to share as RMI Perspectives is, for those of you who are resource management certified professionals, you've seen this graphic before. It's the 6 elements of just-in-time resourcing that we teach when we certify people in resource and workforce management. And the point I wanted to make from this screen simply is that you can, as you're trying to work your way through, how to get better at managing a remote workforce with your whatever process you've landed on for resource management. One thing you can do with our just-in-time resourcing, we call it the wheel. You can just kind of walk around that wheel and think about, how does people going remote affect us, right? Does it, skills inventory, I need to record that somebody's remote versus working at the office, and, what their travel capability might be. Sourcing and development, what are the things that I need to work on? Maybe the person has a difficulty with soft skills, and they don't communicate well and but working remotely, so maybe we need to help them there, and so on and so forth. So I don't know if those are the right 2 examples that I grabbed, but I could walk around this wheel and pick at any number of things that are resulting from somebody going to a remote environment. So just hopefully a helpful point there. One thing I meant to do, I should have gone back, and I'm just going to point out we did take a pulse survey just before we ran this event this morning, and you can see the results of when we asked people, what do you think about what's your company's plans relative to work at home, work at the office, or hybrid? You can see the results. Now, there were 63 responses to that, so I'll put that in it's, I'm not sure that's probably statistically validated, but I wanted to share that information with you just so you can kind of see when we took a pulse survey what people said. So anyway, with that, long and short is everybody's looking for trying to find, what's the right way to manage resources in a remote workforce. And so one of the things I wanted to do is we have an advisory board at the Institute, and there are 12 members of that advisory board that represent professional consulting services organizations, enterprise IT, marketing agencies, accounting organizations, product development organizations, and so we thought what a wonderful idea to have a couple of our best and brightest on the board come talk to us about what they're doing relative to resource management with a remote workforce. Mike Lane representing our enterprise IT domain, and Jodi Ward representing what we do for professional consulting services. So so I've got a number of questions teed up for them, and I'm going to dive right into those with them at this point. So I'll start, Mike. I'll just go left to right. Just Mike Lane, welcome, and you to take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, and your company.
Sure. Thank you, Randy. Good morning, everyone. Well, almost afternoon. I work at the Cincinnati Insurance Companies, and I am presently a director over the RMO, our Resource Management Office, and specifically our RMO is situated inside of the IT department. So from a context standpoint today, when we talk about things, if I answer questions, things like that, it'll be from the context of our information technology department, not representative of the entire company. So I've been at the company over 24 years, 25 years in May. Held a lot of different positions in the company, from the business side on the insurance operations to project management, service management, and now resource management. I was a founding member of the Resource Management Office quite a number of years ago, 2013, I believe, and have been part of the evolution of our RMO ever since.
Wonderful. Jodi.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I work for Esri, as Randy mentioned. I've worked here for over 11 years. Esri is the global market leader in geospatial information systems, or GIS. I'm the manager of our professional services resource management office. I helped to stand it up a number of years ago, with our mission being the effective deployment of our dynamic workforce of GIS experts. We help to support our customers around the world with implementing and realizing the potential of our Esri platform within their organizations. We also partner to support the development of our people and execution of professional services strategic priorities within our organization.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to both of you. Appreciate your being willing to share your experiences here with our membership. So Mike, I'll start with you on how has the trend to remote affected your company?
Yeah. So, you know, COVID, everyone I think really associates the onset of the pandemic with remote work and flexibility. And honestly, we have been allowing some hybrid or flexible work far before that, especially in our IT department as a company. And we actually started noticing trend data, looking at engagement, surveys, attrition, all those sort of things back in 2018. An increased attrition rate due solely to the desire for more flexibility, whether that be a hybrid work arrangement or full work remote arrangement. And we began recording data in earnest in 2019. So a full year before, obviously, the pandemic. And the pandemic, what happened was we saw the trend line continue in 2019, and then the pandemic, of course, hit. And for 2020, at least the beginning part of it, we noticed a trend of people hunkering down. We saw a downward trend in attrition because of the unknown and probably in some of the stressors. Once a little bit more comfort and known occurred and other companies began announcing, hey, we can pull this off remotely, we began seeing not just an upward trend, but a spike, and increased data attrition due solely to the desire for remote work and the guarantee of at least flexible work in the future. When many companies didn't announce, hey, we're going to make this announcement, we're going to go this direction, I think folks said, well, I'm going to go look for that opportunity. And we saw that trend in IT in a big way, and we saw cherry picking happen. The folks that are the most desirable with the hardest to find skills, the least available in the market, those were the ones that were targeted first, and we saw attrition because of that. So from an impact standpoint, that's how we got to where we are. The remote impact has been since then, since we've announced a full remote opportunity, which means you can work hybrid, you can work in the office as much as you want, or you can work remote for IT. We have noticed an increase in productivity. We've increased an increase in engagement. We've noted a decrease in attrition. We're down to pre-COVID levels and even pre-2018 levels in terms of that from a flexibility standpoint. So, and it's key to probably just emphasize again that we offer full hybrid flex remote, meaning if you want to be in the office, fantastic. We have a great office environment for you to be in and be a part of. If you'd like to be hybrid and flex in and out, yep, we can support that as well. And if you want to be full remote, no problem, we can get you there too.
Wonderful. Jodi, same question. How's this affected Esri's business?
Yeah, I think along those same lines, from my perspective, the trend has impacted our organization and just highlighting the importance of work-life balance and the need to sometimes help our staff find that equilibrium, right? For us, prior to COVID, our business had already been growing year after year, and then COVID hit, and Esri Technology was behind many COVID solutions and response efforts. So while other professional services organizations might have been experienced business slowing, ours was quite the opposite. We were busier than ever, and due to this COVID work, many of our mission-driven staff were working late nights, weekends, et cetera. I mean, even for those who continued their typical work, having staff now remote and the walls of their office, now their dining room or their bedroom, et cetera, many with kids at home and remote schooling, the lines of work and life were really blurred, and we saw the need to help some of our staff just regain and maintain that balance.
Wonderful, wonderful. And for the audience, just so you know too, when we get to the end of our panel, we're going to try to take questions from the audience as well, and we can use the question panel for doing that. So Mike, I'll shift back to you. So how has the trend to remote affected your resource management processes and operations? So here you run RM for Cincinnati Insurance. How's it affected you?
Yeah, I think it caused us to really relook at and reassess the primary focus of our RMO. While capacity management is critical and skills and all those sorts of things, our primary focus is on engagement, development, retention, and making sure that we really have honestly a deep relationship with our associates. So it really made us reassess, how do we make sure that when we engage with the current associate who we've known for years, that we do it in a way that is meaningful to them and is frequent enough and purposeful, and maybe not even purposeful. So realizing that you don't always have to have an agenda and a purpose to every meeting, that the casual water cooler conversations that used to occur perhaps in a meeting, in a building, now you need to make opportunities for those to occur virtually. So things like coffee in the morning, a virtual coffee meeting in the morning that literally has no agenda, several days a week, to make sure that people have a meeting space to come together and talk. And it could be about work, or it could not be about work. It could be just the team building, kind of just conversations. So relooking at how we design our work week in terms of the meetings, the engagement, and we're all three of us now working remote. We're on this call remote. I happen to be in my basement office, and I think it's important for people to feel comfortable with that and understand that there could be distractions, there could be things going on, and things like blurring background and having, say, a fake background up is very helpful to limit distractions. Having cameras on, critical for engagement, critical for understanding communication, and knowing that people are there and seeing each other and communicating as best as possible, whether it's hybrid or remote.
Same question for you, Jodi. How's it affected your resource management operations?
Yeah, I think it's impacted us in a number of ways. One main thing that we've seen, just beyond what I mentioned earlier, is that with the shift to remote work came the need for much more agile resource management. And it's already an agile practice to start, but when our staff suddenly stopped traveling on site to our customer locations, many of our high volume assignments went from being 2, 3, 4 full days on site to that being spread across a week or two or more. We've also seen more last minute delays or cancellations or changes than we'd had prior to the pandemic. And this has just highlighted and reinforced the need for an effective RMO and to be able to pivot and reassign staff quickly as needed. It's also, again, highlighted the real importance of communication and the close partnership between RMO, engagement owners, our technical staff, and our team leads.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. There's been some discussion here about employee engagement, and one of the things I'll mention to the membership, if you're not familiar, we have done quite a bit of studies in the area of how to use resource management processes to help do a better job of employee engagement at scale. We've got some great white papers out there and content that we have our upcoming symposiums. We're going to have speakers talking about that topic as well. So I appreciate the conversation on that. So Mike, I'll come back to you, and I'm going to combine a couple of these questions. What's working for you that you'd want to share, that most importantly, and what did you try that, hey, I don't do that again, it didn't work for us? Anything you'd like to share there?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Randy. From what's working, I think Jodi just kind of keyed on it, and that is not just from an agility standpoint, but an increase in autonomy and empowerment of associates, of people on teams, an increased level of trust and handing down of this isn't management. We're trying to help lead, we're trying to help guide, and we're trying to help mentor folks to be successful and take control of their work and their tasks, and have authority to make decisions and take action on those, and to not only take risks, but to sometimes mess it up and break something, or it's okay to fail, and communicate, be transparent, and move forward, right? Take it as a learning opportunity. So things like blameless postmortems and items like that have been huge for success of teams and individuals alike. And those items in and of themselves improve engagement, improve retention, improve cross-training, relationships, and more. So the improved empowerment of associates is working, and it's for us, it's been critical, and it's been a movement we want to continue. What's not working is the idea that if someone's remote or hybrid, that there's a line between, oh, you're hybrid or you're in the office. It's really, if any one person on the team, it happens to be virtual or remote that day or for that meeting, then everybody needs to function like they're remote. Unless everyone's literally in the room together, then everyone needs to understand that there's going to be virtual challenges and virtual opportunities, and treating everyone like they're remote or hybrid is probably the best approach going forward, rather than thinking it's going to be different, because it's probably not. Because whether you're in the office 2 days a week or you're out 5 days a week, it's probably the same. We all need to engage and do the same things and communicate as best as possible. So that is one thing.
Perfect, Mike. Thank you. Jodi, same thing. What's working? What's not working?
Yeah, I guess for us, constant communication and close coordination is working well for us. But even before that, I'd say the most important thing is establishing and maintaining strong relationships and trust with those we work with and support in every role and at every level of the organization. It really is the cornerstone that everything else is built off of, and you just can't be successful with resource management without those strong relationships and trust. I think Mike had mentioned that earlier. I don't necessarily have something to share that we've tried and that's failed, but one thing that we're constantly working with our engagement owners on is just the improving the accuracy of our data so that it's reflective of our current plans. A constant challenge, I think, for every organization. But with the churn of these high volume assignments that I mentioned earlier, and the increase of schedules, changes, and slips, it's become even more of a challenge and is really a focus for us.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to skip the last question that I had for the two of you, because we've got a bunch of questions that have come in for the two of you. So I'm going to I'm going to do a couple commercials here real quick, and then I'm going to dive into our Q&A. So I just want to remind people, if you're not familiar, we've run the Resource Management Global Symposium in Dallas 2 years in a row. We had to defer it a couple of years because of the COVID pandemic, but it is coming up again April 28th and 29th in Dallas, Texas. It's a day-and-a-half format. We are going to have a ton of great speakers, including Mike and Jodi, who are both on our speaker list, and we've got a lot of other folks that are going to be speaking. You can go out and look at the agenda online. We've got 8 RM software vendors who are going to be there demonstrating resource management technology. We've got a great networking event in the form of a hospitality event we run on the first night. If you're an RMCP, you get 10 PCUs toward your recertification. And by the way, we have bundled pricing. So this is, if you're in the resource management discipline, this is the event of the industry. I hope you'll take a look and go out to our website and check it out. If you're thinking about getting more deep knowledge of resource management, both of Mike and Jodi and their teams have been trained as resource management certified professionals, and it's a great opportunity to learn, collaborate with your industry peers, get access to a great toolkit, and a lot of other things. But it's the only industry certification out there for resource management. I hope you'll take a quick look. We've got more than 500 companies that have put their people through the certification program. We teach the just-in-time resourcing process solution that teaches those 6 things as you go through it, and we teach it in 3 different formats. You can go in class, including, by the way, we're going to be teaching it at the Symposium. You can also come to our headquarters building in Cincinnati to one of our classes. We also teach it online, and we've got an on-demand format of it as well. You can see the prices out there. The schedules are all out on the website as well, so depending on what venue you prefer, online, on demand, or in class you can pick. We also have an advanced resource management class that we're teaching. You have to be RMCP certified to take that, and we're going to be teaching that at the Symposium. We've got bundled pricing as well for if you want to do that. And then the last thing I'll mention before I come back to the Q&A with Jodi and Mike is we've come a long way in the last 6 years. The Symposium's been in existence, and beyond the certification program, we now have an intro class for resource management. We've got next level development. So if you want to help your RMs to see there's additional advanced education, you can go take advanced resource management course. And we split that course, by the way, into that's one that's targeted at the fundamentals of jitter, along with advanced topics for somebody leading an organization or an RMO, and for those RMCPs who simply want to advance their knowledge. Excuse me. And next month, in April, we'll be releasing our resource management soft skills course as well. So I hope you'll take a look at that. So before I get to the Q&A, I just want to say one more thanks to our sponsors, Maven Link, Projector, and Savion. We really appreciate their support, not only the Institute, but their involvement in helping to advance the needs of people trying to conduct resource management. So that, with the Q&A, I'm going to come back to that. And so a couple of questions I'd like to ask is, are either of your companies looking to bring people in periodically for physical interaction?
Yeah, I can take that first. Yeah, so we have had targeted, even before we started transitioning slowly back into the office as our staff were able, we've looked at some activities that made sense to do in person if we were able, but it wasn't a directed thing. If staff weren't comfortable traveling or being in person, then we'd offer a remote option to attend those events as well. But we really have been slow and cautious in going back to the office, and I think Esri's handled it really well and not been prescriptive or kind of forceful in driving staff in back to the office if that's not something that they're comfortable with. They're really taking their time and are still not there yet. So,
Mike?
Yeah, very similar. We have made it very much optional, right, for in-person events. We've planned a ton of virtual team get-togethers and parties, if you will, happy hours virtually. Fun games to try to play virtually as well. But there have been a few all voluntary in-person events off and on, but again, voluntary. If folks weren't comfortable, if they weren't okay with it, it has been voluntary up until this point. As we go forward, who knows what the future holds here, but we're looking like maybe things are getting better. So perhaps we could offer more opportunities for in-person events that would be optional, but we have been conservative with that up till now.
Right, okay. Here's a question. I found that short connections via instant messaging can be a great way to create the water cooler conversation with colleagues who aren't co-located. Have you used instant messenger software in any way?
Yeah, I'll jump on that one. Oh my gosh. IM has exploded. We use Teams. We're a Teams corporation, and the ability to quickly ping folks. You'd be in a meeting and get pinged. Hey, do you have a minute? And you're having a chat with someone. You're in a meeting. Multitasking has exploded, in my opinion, from a virtual work environment. So, being able to context switch, being able to keep your conversation straight is critical. And yeah, we use it all the time. We have team chats to try to engage the entire team, whether it might be just sending out an article, hey, read this, or even just a lighthearted Friday afternoon funny to just share with the team. All work appropriate, of course, but it's a great, it's a great tool.
Yeah, okay. Jodi, anything on the Messenger?
Yeah, I'd second that, and I'm laughing because my Teams chat is blowing up as we speak. We've been users of Instant Messenger for years, and I think my team is constantly going back and forth and sharing updates and who needs work, what we have, urgent need that we need to work on. The team has been great in communicating that through our chat, as well as just, chats with other across the organization and conversation starters and getting attention when you need it. I think it's still important to have calls and conversations on the phone and in person, but chat has been a real help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wonderful.
Can I add one thing to that? So
yeah, go ahead, Mike.
We use IM, and maybe you do this too, Jodi, but using IM to just ping someone and say, hey, do you have a second? Can I get a minute with you? It's that precursor to a pop-in that used to occur to say, can I get a couple minutes? And then we do a video chat. So you get that connection, you get that face-to-face, of course, virtually, but it's used as a gateway to opening up a deeper conversation. So we use it that way a lot.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we are right at the top of the hour, and I'm going to say, Mike and Jodi, can't thank you both enough for being willing to share what your experiences are in this. I know our membership is hungry for information like this. I hope this has been a good session for all of you. Sorry we're unable to get to the rest of the questions. With that, Thomas, anything you need to do before we close?
No, just thank you, Randy. Thanks, Mike and Jodi. Very helpful, I think, for everyone attending.
Okay, perfect. With that, we'll call it a wrap. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.